Hey everybody, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by criticizing current players. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Stacy. Today we're talking about episode 8 of Survivor 47, He's All That, and I'm joined by two of my fabulous Survivor co-hosts, Derek Kubicek and Josh Wessler. Before I ask them how they're doing, I'm going to put all my cards on the table. For the first time ever, I am drunk on a podcast. I've been drinking, I won't say heavily, but I've been drinking a lot. It's the day after the election. Everything's terrible. And so I actually, cards on the table, I did not want to do the podcast on that. I really was not in the mood to do this at all, even a little bit. I just wanted to get blackout drunk is all I wanted to do. And Derek and Josh both talked me into doing this. So the compromise was we would do the podcast as normal, but I was going to be drunk for it. Derek, Josh, how you doing?
Well, there's no levity in the air tonight, so Survivor was at least pretty fun. That's
good
really,
episode of Survivor.
Everyone on the podcast hears how we talk about social issues. Here's about how we talk about things on Survivor. You can probably guess where a lot of feelings are.
I'm not going to leave anything ambiguous. Anyone who's listening to this podcast who voted for Donald Trump can go F yourself. I would say the other word, but we're a clean podcast. We're family friendly, apparently. Yeah, I don't want you listening to this thing. I don't want you here. I don't give a crap about your views, your listens, your clicks. Get lost. You suck.
One thing about being a small podcast is we are not monetized.
Yep.
So we can be principled, and there's no economic loss to us. We really just want positivity, and it's really hard to associate the two. That's all I'll say.
I am glad that we watched the episode. I like distractions in life, even when you're going to need a lot of distractions in the future. All I will say is everyone just look out for each other, because people need to look out for each other right now. So there you go.
Shall we talk about a silly reality game show?
That's why we're here.
Of which an episode, it was a very good episode. It was a pretty standard episode. I apologize in advance if this one comes off as a little sloppy, but, alcohol was involved.
We'll do our best to have one of Ryan's arms around each of us.
yeah, you guys are going to help carry me home. Good thing we're podcasting in my place.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, into Survivor, into business. Good episode. It was kind of fun because we knew the way the wind was blowing as we were going to Tribal Council. We knew which way it was going to go. The question was, who is it going to land on? The Russian roulette, spin the bottle. We were set up with a few options on a certain group. Just where was it going to land? It was fun.
Very chaotic in that moment. It might even be easier if we just get into a spoiler section really quickly. I don't know if there's any sort of precursor we need to add before it, but if you haven't seen the episode, go watch it because it is fun. We do have a return of a game mechanic that we like and we're happy to see back. But 3, 2, 1, we lose Sierra tonight.
Yep.
But what Ryan is talking about is by the time we were going to Tribal, Agata's got to go.
Agata's got to go. Derek, we were so close. Josh, did you have Sam as your who's going next? I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay, so all three of us were on the same page that Sam was going next?
Yep.
So close. So close.
Yeah. If you look at our Danger Zone rankings on social media, I had Sierra as third most likely, Kyle is second most likely, Sam is first most likely. I have to say, I feel like I hit the trifecta there because Kyle was in danger without immunity tonight.
Yep.
So I'm not pleasantly surprised because I like Sierra, but I mean, it's about time for the dominoes to start falling and can't keep everybody alike.
Yeah, this was self-inflicted. Sierra could have saved herself weeks ago had she made a different move in a different spot. If she'd taken out Andy instead of Annika, I think she might still be in the game.
That absolutely could be the comeuppance because we never got Sierra turning on Sam. That sweater thread ends up not going anywhere, and instead we're just left with the lessons of their mistakes. So I think you might be right. If you go with Annika and Rachel, there might even be a functional women's alliance out there right now. And I know that there's a working relationship between many of the women, especially after this episode. Even though Sierra goes home, it could be bigger, it could be more successful, and it's not there.
Yeah, you have the butterfly effect. I think that it's just as likely if you do keep Annika around that you guys make it to the merge, and then it's like, oh, these 3 Gata women are all together. We need to break them up. So it could just as easily have gone that direction. Who knows?
If we want to stick more recent, just last episode, Sierra was calling out Andy for looking for looking for idols. There had been no pen on parchment yet. I know that Andy had already talked about flipping at that point, but without pen on parchment, Josh, even you said, until something definitive is shown in the vote, you have to be able to assume that you can bring Andy back into the fold.
Yeah, Andy mismanagement is the big thing here, more than anything.
You know, they say tonight Sierra was involved for being a big threat. I'm sure she was a pretty big social threat, but I gotta be honest, I don't think she's very good at Survivor. Animal wrangling, as Andy might put it, was not one of her strong suits.
Yeah, I think her patience wore thin, particularly with Andy. We've been talking about Andy all season. In particular, I described him as very capricious. Capricious Andy makes a return tonight, in my opinion. And we've talked about him all season as the bomb to be defused. Gata did not defuse that bomb in time.
Blew up in their face.
And now we have Rachel, who I think is in a better spot than Sam, but Rachel and Sam here to left to pick up the pieces, and nothing but a smiling Andy sitting off to the side, which it was interesting to see him smiling so wide for someone who actually had campaigned to keep him in the game for a while. So it's just, we learned a lot about this season, I think, tonight.
Should we jump to the episode proper?
Yes.
All right, so the episode begins. We get back to camp. Sol is going to be the one to tell Rachel that he gave her the advantage, which forms a bond between them. They want to work together. And basically, it's confirmed that Rachel was the one going home. Tuku was going for Rachel. So now people are talking about, hey, we got to take out a Tuku. They wanted to stick together, and they were forced to turn on each other. They're tight. Definitely going to happen. That's what's going to go through this episode.
And Sol specifically wants this to just be a one-on-one conversation. He doesn't want to, admit that he's the one who gave Rachel the advantage in front of everyone else, and he tells her, like, let's keep this a secret. So, good, obviously, on that part.
Positive edit spike for Sol tonight, because both Rachel and Kyle are going to tell us how much they like Sol, just because he's kind of a goof, but he's also really smart. So, Sol's great. I really like Sol.
Yeah, like you said, edit it up just a little bit, and I like it.
But we're going to have the Survivor auction, and it's going to be similar to what we did in 45. They have to run into the jungle to find bundles of cash, basically. And he gets 0. So he goes into the auction with $0.
But even better was the supercut of all the ones he missed. Andy, did you actually miss these? Or did you remember, if I get any money, there's a chance I lose my vote, and I just want some screen time? I don't know what's going on here, but... wow.
Maybe he needs thicker glasses. Like, we're going to get a big montage later in the episode of, like, Andy doing the Hollywood makeover. Take off the glasses. Take the thing out of your hair and let it fly. Maybe you do need the glasses, Andy.
What's that episode of Arthur where he takes his glasses off and he can't see anything, but he's tired of being called a Four Eyes? This is coming from a Four Eyes, by the way, for those of you on video. So,
yeah, we got a couple of those here on the podcast.
Yeah. You know what, though? Without my glasses, I would have found at least one. So...
my glass.
my glasses.
But we are going to do the same thing where the person with the most amount of money at the end of the auction loses their vote. We did not love this last time. They improved the auction slightly because there is an item they put up for sale that you have to bid to get into be able to eat it. So if you have $200, you can bid to be a part of the competition to get the really nice item. So people with lower amounts of money can get in and, shake up the order a little bit, which ends up what's happening. Sam is going to end up, because basically they have to bid to get into the competition, which is one round of a gross food eating challenge. Sam wins. So Sue, who had the most amount of money, who should have probably been the one to buy this, had it been just a normal auction like we did, or the style we did in 45, Sue would have gotten this slam dunk, no problem. Sam gets it this time. It's not going to save him because he's going to be the one with the most amount of money in the end and to lose his vote, but he did get to lower his amount significantly. So he ended up screwing himself over, but that's results-oriented thinking.
And he got breakfast.
Yeah, I like the additional way to spend money other than, oh, hey, cool, we're, 4 items in. Now it's just going to be, cool, who has the most money? I'm going to spend it all. And it's just going to be a game of luck based off of a tile that Jeff pulled out of a bag. Like, that's the big issue that I think all of us had with it the first time on 45. So at least there's that little wrinkle in there. They also did the cashback program.
Random
so
cash.
Every once in a while there'd just be $60 in a covered item, so you don't know you're going to be getting money back. So it's like, okay, I spent all my funds, but I'm not at 0 now.
Yeah, Caroline got like a Benji with her fish eyes. Come on, that's the worst combination.
Yeah, we do the fish eyes thing again, which I again did not watch. I assume it was gross.
It was honestly, I think, a little worse than the last one.
So
it was not great.
I have famously I have an eyeball phobia, so nope, no, thank you.
Yeah, yep. And I'm currently sick, so the last thing that I wanted to do was see that.
But the other notable thing is Rachel is going to find an idol clue in her French fries.
Creative as hell.
Yep.
Loved that, especially because the reason we lost the auction was because people would bid on the advantage.
Yep. No
Okay.
advantages, but
Well,
like a random one hidden. That's
just,
cool.
We'll just hide one in the food.
That's fun. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally cool with that.
We could do the one where you bring it back, put it in like the bottle of wine or in the bottle of
Yep.
pop or something, and then someone's like drinking their pop and they have to try and pull a
Yep.
Joey, like, but you ain't slick.
You mean slick.
Yeah, I think overall at the end of 45, I wasn't a huge fan of like, maybe we don't want this version of the auction back, but now I'd be okay with this one coming back.
Keep
like
adding stuff.
Yeah, every other season, something like that. Keep it special,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
every single time. But I think there's enough here now that it's not just a process to get through. It's like, okay, this is predetermined.
It was fun. So Rachel's idol clue tells her the idol is sewn into the tarp, which is on top of their shelter. So she's got to get that. And so she waits for a moment where everybody's in the shelter, and then she gets it. Instead of everyone being away from the shelter, she just has everybody in the shelter. They're talking about whatever, and she goes and gets it.
Weirdly enough, of all of the conversations and reveals that have been walked in Survivor 47 so far, I mean, starting with Teeny revealing Rome's advantage to Keyshawn, to conversations being overheard, just all of this fumbling around. Rachel's just like, everyone's in the shelter. Perfect.
I got in plain sight.
Got him just where I want him.
This was super impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know how you end up doing this because she even has to like have the machete there
That's
to tear it open, and like she's even like shaking the shelter a little bit. It's like no one is like looking around like, Rachel, what are you doing?
Seriously, I'd be like, what the hell is she doing with the machete in our tarp? Like, I feel like I've thought about this a lot, and it's just funny that there was finally a reason to vocalize it. I would be so protective of the tarp. I don't know why, but like I can just tell that the tarp flattening and adjusting, that would be my job. I just know that it would be. I'd be like, that's a crease. Let us fix that. Let's redirect the flow of water. So like, no, take a machete to my tarp.
You stay away from my tarp.
How dare you? Like, this is my tarp.
Yeah, this tracks. Derek's big into like I count tarps as like lawn maintenance equipment because what we used to do is we used to rake leaves onto a tarp and then we would just gather it all and dump the tarp into like one of our garbage cans because we had like a yard waste garbage can. So I count tarps kind of. When I think of tarps, one of the first things I think of is that you can use it for raking leaves. And Derek is a very much a suburban dad who is a little obsessed with his lawn. So this tracks for Derek.
It's only a little. Like, I try to put just enough effort in so that there's a difference. My wife calls me the grass daddy.
No, I hate it. Because she'll say this in front of me to him, and I'm just like, this is the worst day of my life.
But she says it because she knows that you hate it.
I know, but like...
For all the things that you say just to irritate me, it's hilarious that my wife can get you back in this way.
Name one thing I've ever done to just irritate you.
You know what? If only we had the time. Oh, would you look at that? We need to continue watching. They're talking about Survivor. Your Pixar rankings suck.
But the difference is...
No.
I mean that. That's my genuine opinion.
You think my wife doesn't genuinely refer to me as grass daddy?
I regret doing this podcast so much. I need like 6 more beers. But Sierra, Rachel, and Teeny, they want to take out Kyle if he doesn't win immunity because he's won the first 2. Otherwise, Gabe, get rid of a Tuku guy is the plan.
Yes. Which, by the way, to go back to what Josh and I, you as well, but Josh and I were in agreement that Caroline was correct last week when she was talking to Tiana. Granted, Tiana ends up going home. Let's say they do target Rachel and they come to Tuku. Obviously, Sue and Caroline not on the chopping block. So point Caroline for being correct in her read, at least in how it was fed to us.
Genevieve actually wants to change things up, though, and not go with Gata. She wants to turn on Gata because she's scared of Sam, Sierra, and Rachel. They're all competent, charismatic, smart players. So she talks to Sue and Caroline about maybe taking out Rachel next because Sam is the obvious target. Rachel's smart and sneaky, so taking out Rachel next is the plan.
Yeah, and this is something that it seems like Genevieve has been cooking up for a couple of episodes. You know, she started building a relationship, especially with like Caroline here, ever since they got to the same beach. So this is not surprising whatsoever that she doesn't really have an interest with just going with the status quo.
Derek, you like to occasionally put a fork in people when they're done, right?
Yeah, I do.
What is the opposite of that?
Putting a fork in someone?
Yeah, like saying I want to put a fork in someone in a positive way, saying this person's gonna win, and I'm planting my flag. I'm planting my flag, and Genevieve's winning. Genevieve's winning this game. I'm convinced. I'm totally convinced Genevieve is winning.
I mean, would that just be like calling your shot?
I'm calling my shot.
No, I like planting a flag
Planting
because it's
a flag.
like because it feels like the same. Like there's an action to sticking the fork in it. There's an action to planting the
I'm
flag.
on the moon. I'm planting my flag. I'm claiming this. Genevieve is winning.
Except you only get one in that scenario where you can have as many forks as you want.
Yeah, so like this, because Teeny is my winner pick, but we make that on day one. Teeny, I'm still locked in on Teeny, but let's say Teeny had gotten voted on this episode, Genevieve would be my new pick. I think I'm wrong, and I think Genevieve's winning.
Ryan, let's just say that you had the proverbial flag, and you go, I do hereby declare this winner pick mine. I'm gonna say, hey, Mama, can I pick that winner? Oh yes, sure, go ahead, son. No, I think so too.
That is the most specific reference in the world that maybe like 4 people on the entire planet will get. Derek and I are 2 of them.
Yep.
I don't get it.
Even Josh doesn't get
I
it.
don't get
It is
it.
a YouTube video that Derek and I watched when we were roommates in college, and we like to reference it once in a while. I've never heard anyone else or seen anyone else ever reference it on the internet anywhere.
And you know what? Some of the stuff on the podcast is just for us.
True, I'm leaving it in.
I don't know how to put this.
You put that on your head, you stupid.
So is that your way of saying you agree with him that you think that Genevieve is winning the game?
I think there's a really good chance. When I'm looking at, hey, we didn't even talk about this. We're going to be doing our rank downs, dank downs, and jank downs tonight. I think that Genevieve has done a very good job at least with the way the edit has fed it to us, sussing out who can beat her and who can't. I'll leave it at that.
Now, if the episode, like, the game ended today and we had a final 10, I'm not saying Genevieve would win a jury amongst this final 10. She's not at the top of my rank down, but I do think she's going to win the game.
I think she does have like the most paths forward.
Yeah,
for sure.
Immunity challenge, 1 man and 1 woman are going to win this one. It's the Gabler hold a quarter of your weight.
Yeah, old man strength.
Old man strength.
Old man grip strength.
Or old woman group strength.
Yeah, you're right. It's just Gabler.
As we'll see.
Like Gabler made it famous, I guess, with reciting names of fallen.
I dedicate
soldiers.
this minute to whoever.
Or to families and loved ones, and so I just think of like old man Gabler strength.
All right, you got to dedicate a minute. Who are you dedicating a minute to of this challenge? You're in it.
Oh my goodness! And if I'm on the season and you're not, I'm dedicating it to you.
Well, that's nice. I'm dedicating mine
probably.
to Waluigi.
Waluigi as justice for all of the games he's been not included on.
See if it makes it on air.
Like Super Smash Brothers.
I would love, if I ever get on Survivor, I would love to get a Waluigi reference. Waluigi's my favorite Nintendo character, my favorite video game character, possibly my favorite media character.
If you get put on the Blue Tribe, you could find like a bluish purple upside down L.
Maybe just say wah whenever I can.
Wah.
If I could get a Waluigi reference in Survivor, I'd be so happy.
Maybe dedicate a minute to Jeff's polos.
How about you, Josh? Who did you dedicate a minute to?
I don't know. The first thing I was thinking of was one of you guys, just to get you on air.
Oh, that's nice.
Because
you guys are so nice.
In this scenario, I made it onto Survivor and you guys didn't, which does not make sense.
Yeah, this
like,
is Survivor podcast wars.
Out of the 3 of us, I feel like I am the least likely to make it on the show. So, I would add it as like a, hey, nice way to get you guys on air, but also maybe like rub it in your face a little bit.
A bit of both.
If I get on Survivor, I'm rubbing it in both of your faces just a little bit.
That's fair. Sue and Kyle are both going to win, so 2 members from Tuku. So Kyle's third individual immunity win in a row, and that ties the record in the new era. You saw that on Twitter,
Yep.
Derek?
It was D, Maria, Cassidy, and
Ricard, I think.
Ricard. Yep, from 41.
And in Kyle's own words, uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm in danger, so he's got to keep winning now.
It's almost like he was... Dash from The Incredibles, like he's in the race and he knows that he's winning.
Oh, no.
And like he knows how obvious it is. Like, Yeah, this is a problem. Maybe I shouldn't have done this, but like I
Keep it
can't turn
close.
back out. And actually, I want to talk about this. I think Kyle's personality requires him to kind of be like a Colby or a Mike Holloway. Like his best argument is to be the nicest guy ever and win every single immunity all the way to the end. Be like, I didn't make anybody mad, and literally nobody could beat me. I think that might be his way to win.
And he can also say he was the spearhead against Rome.
Yes, because he's not a zero strategically.
Yep, not at all.
But he's been very self-deprecating when it comes to strategy, and I think that's the kind of thing that can permeate through his zeitgeist. Like, oh well, Kyle said he's not strategic. It's kind of like, oh, so and so wanted to quit the game, so we'll hold him hostage. That feels like something that has legs. So if you're gonna say that you're not strategic, you better be social as heck, and you better be physical as heck.
Yep.
So weirdly enough, to keep his chances alive to win, I very much like his continued immunity run.
At this point, I think he's gotta.
I think he's screwed.
Well, I mean, I think he's Tuku.
Speaking of which, Gata and Lavo, they wanted to take out a Tuku member, Gabe. Oh, wait. First off, Andy's going to flip. He's going to abandon ship on Gata, and he is going to go to Tuku and Lavo people. All of Tuku, all of Lavo, plus Andy, they're all going to talk, and, like, who are we taking out? Sam, Sierra, Rachel. So we're going to get a bunch of different people's perspectives on who we want to take out. Teeny originally wants to stick with Gata, but then realizes, oh, nobody else does. I got to jump ship. So Teeny wants to keep Sierra and take out Sam, because they're close. Soul wants to keep Rachel in the game, because they're close. Genevieve wants to take out Rachel. Soul wants to take out Sam. Tuku's all got different opinions. Everybody has a different opinion on which Gata to take out because they're all threats in their own way. So we're gonna go to Tribal Council. Gata is gotta go. One of them is going. We just don't know who, which is fun. At Tribal Council, Rachel is going to play her shot in the dark. She gets nervous during the discussion. She has an idol, but she can play her shot in the dark, see what the reaction is. She ends up not being safe, but she doesn't play her idol because nobody's freaking out, and Soul gave her a look.
Allegedly. It was on Twitter that the edit at least showed them sharing a look.
Yeah.
So if they've got each other's back, maybe there was something there. That doesn't mean that Soul necessarily knows she has an idol, but maybe it was like a reassuring, hey, you didn't need to do that. You're okay.
You're good.
Yeah, I
so
think,
we don't know. Unclear.
I think we'll have to find out, if there was a look, I feel like we would very likely find out next episode. Otherwise, nothing will be said, probably. Yeah. Part of the reason why, looking at Soul here, if he doesn't give her a look or doesn't clue her into the vote at all, it is kind of weird just because he wants to be super close with Rachel. He admitted to her at the beginning of this episode that he gave her the advantage. So it'd be weird that he would leave her out of that conversation. Going forward, I feel like it'd be really hard for the two of them to have that same trust that you literally just built at the beginning of this episode.
But Rachel also might have nowhere else to go.
True.
So Rachel is not safe, but she can't vote. Sam cannot vote either. It's going to be 4 votes for Sam, 4 votes for Sierra, 1 vote for Gabe. So we're going to revote, and it's between Sam and Sierra. But because Sam doesn't have a vote, Sierra does. Sierra gets to vote this time. It's very unusual in a tie. Sierra actually gets to vote. She has to vote for Sam. That's no choice, but she gets to vote. Doesn't matter. It's a 1 vote for Sam. Everyone else votes for Sierra. Totally fine move. If you want to take out a Gata, all 3 of these people are threats. Sierra was seen as a big social threat. Fine with me.
I want to go back to Rachel playing her shot in the dark for a second. One thing that I don't think has been discussed, but I thought about, why would they show us Soul and Rachel bonding if Soul isn't going to tip her off about this? She might have played the shot in the dark to suss out, but also to not have to participate in a blindside on Gata.
Could be.
Yep.
So it's plausible deniability, especially for the mayor of Ponderosa. So like I knew, but I wasn't going to fight too hard to stop it. And I had an idol and I'm not going to play it on you. There's a lot of different ways to look at that. And I think there's a chance that it was a little bit for show.
Possibly.
But that being said, I'm also okay with the move for Sierra. At some point, we have to start playing the game with our rank downs, jank downs, and dank downs. Who should people be seeing at this point, and who should they be going after? This is our first real merge vote. They decided to take out a big social threat who had strategic chops and good relationships.
And was in a tight duo.
So this move right now makes enough sense for enough people to where I'm not going to argue with it at all.
And I would actually just say that it was the right move. I wouldn't even say that it was the one of the right moves that could have been made, just because when you are looking at Gata, which I think is, the right group of people to look at, take out Rachel. I don't care. Like, yeah, she might be a threat, but just because there's a duo there, you have to look at just the two of these people. And I don't remember who said it, but whoever said that, you know, Sam is a much more obvious threat. You know, yeah, he'd be really good in a final tribal council, but I don't think he's going to make it that far. So, you know, go for Sierra instead.
Genevieve, I think, maybe said that.
Yeah, one of the girls there.
What did Twitter have to say?
According to Twitter, it was a real close one. 51% of the people said that the right person got voted out tonight.
Okay.
So, neck and neck.
Okay.
But just eked it out.
All right, let's get a best and worst player of the episode. I'll start us off with best player. For me, it was pretty close. There's lots of good gameplay tonight, but I'm going to give mine to Kyle. He won immunity. He helped take out Sierra, and you could say the same thing about Sue. The edge for me is at the auction. Kyle got a mystery item, which ended up being chicken wings. He's a vegetarian. He elected to eat the meat, the chicken wings, which is a good move for him because, you know, protein helps. You need it on the island. So I'm proud of him for being willing to make a sacrifice to better his chances to win the game. Not easy, I'm sure, but like that's impressive that he did it, and I'm very proud that he did. Nothing against vegetarians, but you know, it's gotta be a hard thing to do to break a promise, not like a conviction you made. Just to, like,
it's a personal principle.
It's a personal principle.
Well, and he said what, like 6 years?
6
something?
years.
That's a long time.
But it was the smart move for him to win. So because he was willing to do that, and he wanted me, and he took out Sierra, I'm gonna give mine to Kyle.
I ended up giving mine to Soul just because I think it was a good idea. Maybe for like there was a world where he keeps this a secret from Rachel, and then it's a big grand reveal. But I think that Soul is doing better to try and rally his own cohort. So I think bringing Rachel in, I think he was the first person to actually specifically name out Sierra. I know that Andy threw out Sam and Sierra as a duo, and he said a preference on Sierra. I don't remember. But Soul was pretty much Sierra. So he got his way on that. He built a really good relationship with Rachel. He may or may not shared a secretive glance with her at Tribal Council. He's in a pretty good position going forward. And we learned that Andy and Kyle are both pretty endeared to him. So I felt like we got some strategic edit and some social edit on Saul today and really filled in the gaps more than otherwise. But to your point on Kyle, one thing that we always talk about on Survivor is how willing are you to step outside of yourself to try and win the game? Because some people just can't do that. I've got no issue with veganism, vegetarianism. I choose to scale back my consumption of pork for exactly this reason. It exists on the scale of morality where pork is just like, it's kind of on that edge. I like that Kyle was willing to step beyond his comfort zone to really live out this once-in-a-lifetime experience. When I was in Tanzania, I went to this market where it was whatever they caught that day, that's what was on the grill. I wasn't thinking about pork. I wasn't thinking about really even what it was. It was about being with those people in that moment, trying to immerse myself in that culture. It's not like an apples to apples comparison here, but I actually think that I was a little bit touched when I saw him like eat that wing, and you know, he kind of played it off like, I did it, it's not a big deal, but I could see it. Because when I have pepperoni on my pizza, I feel that. So good for you, Kyle. You get commendations from me all up and down the board. I think if you haven't like forgiven yourself, you should. We all deserve self-forgiveness, I think, and I don't think you should regret it if you do. So that's all I'll say. I am proud of you as well. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I had Soul. Basically everything that Derek said. I would like to give an honorable mention actually to Genevieve as well, just because I think that I'm going to take a little bit of a dig at Andy here at the same time, just because it seems like Andy wanted to make like this big kind of move, a gesture about how his game was going to be changing in this episode. Andy's vote didn't matter here at all whatsoever. I'm going to actually give a lot more credit to someone like Genevieve, who has kind of put this in motion for a couple of episodes just with her social relationships, and is like, no, I'm not going to go with this Gata Lavu or whatever their name is alliance here to take out Tuku. No, I want to work with these people on Tuku, and we're going to shift this game in one single vote, just because this is the first time that we're all coming together for a normal vote. There don't need to be lines from any of the other partial tribal councils that we've had. So I really like that from her. The thing that just put it over the edge was the fact that Soul was able to keep someone around that he really wanted to. I'm not going to say that he saved Rachel or anything like that, but
Didn't hurt.
It didn't hurt. And he was able to get kind of like another, at least, ally on his side in this episode.
Yeah, definitely honorable mention for Soul and for Sue from me on this one. Derek, who do you got for worst player?
I'm going to give it to Andy. I made the comparison. I can't remember if it was 2 weeks ago or last week, but I said it's starting to feel like Cochran on South Pacific a little bit, where if he makes this flip, he pretty much guarantees that he can't win the game. I think that happened tonight. One, because of what Josh said. Yeah, he did this big grand gesture. They gave him the moment where he let down his hair and took off his glasses and all of that, and it didn't matter. I mean, he might have maybe made people feel comfortable with the decision that they can still work with him moving forward, which is, I guess, a positive, but they only want to work with him because they know that he's not a threat to win the game. I think his best path forward to win, because we talked about 2 episodes ago, anyone can win, and Andy was coming up on the board a little bit. I think he needed to stick with Gata a while longer, build good relationships with the other people, turn on Gata later after they'd been a successful post-merge alliance for a little bit, and then earned their respect that way. Flipping on them this early, I think, just proves that, oh, okay, you're just desperate. You're just going to be fluttery and fly around. So I think the flip tonight was the nail in Andy's coffin. He might make Final Tribal Council. I think he's going to be a zero vote finalist if he does. Starting to feel a little bit like Owen, starting to feel a little bit like Jake. And I'm talking like mid-game, end-game.
Sure.
The early game comparison,
Different.
very different. Owen and Jake didn't stumble quite like he did, but the middle and end game is starting to feel like that.
Josh?
I had Sam. Lost his vote. Not really his fault. I mean, what can you do? It's with this new auction format. Closest ally goes home. Yeah, it's not him, but it wasn't because of anything that he did. And it's also just a culmination of, whatever episode we're on, 7 or 8 episodes of him being in the clearest, most obvious duo in this game. There's other duos in this game. People aren't talking about them. So, sorry, Sam, you're all alone now.
Everything you said, Josh, agree completely. It's Sam. And then add in the fact that we just never saw him trying to make Andy feel comfortable again after the Rome vote where Andy got a couple of votes. Maybe it happened, but we never saw it and it clearly didn't work. So Sam is my worst.
And Sierra is just as much to blame for that, too.
Yeah.
They're both at fault, but Sierra's gone.
She's out.
We don't have to hang on worst player for too long. Sam was my dishonorable mention. The reason I gave it to Andy is because we had been talking, Ryan, while Josh was away on a vacation. We have our who can't win, but it sucked to pick them because anybody could have, theoretically. I've changed my mind on that after tonight. Sam, although kneecapped right now, can still win the game. I think that Andy cannot, and that was my differentiating factor. But I would agree with you guys that maybe Sam fell further, but he hasn't lost.
Well, that's fair.
All right. Let's get into who is going next. Josh, who do you got? Who's next out of this game?
We got a whole bunch of names on the next time on Survivor.
Yeah, all of them.
That's a whole bunch of information that isn't going to matter. Or maybe it'll matter, but there's no use in trying to make any sense of it right now. I don't think they're going to look at Gata again in back-to-back tribals. Maybe they look at Rachel, but she has an idol, so I'm going to kind of just keep that one off to the side. There are a lot of not necessarily alliances, but just relationships here. That was one of the things that I really liked about this episode is just the dynamic of, okay, we focused on Gata, but there's 3 people on Gata that could go home right now, and everyone has different motivations of who they want to go home, whether it's, Soul wanting to keep Rachel while Genevieve wants to take Rachel out, or Teeny wanting to keep Sierra around because she's super close with her, and yada yada. So I think that those relationships are still going to come into play this next episode, so I'm just going to completely ignore a lot of those big names that had been coming up, and I'm just going to kind of default back to someone who seems like an obvious threat. As long as he loses the challenge, I'm going to go with Kyle.
Strong possibility of that happening. I'm going to go, just because there's nothing too much to work with from the next time on Survivor, so I'm just going to go with the next obvious move. A split vote between Rachel and Sam. Rachel plays your idol, Sam goes out of the game. So I think Sam's next.
Even though we haven't had a women's alliance yet, we've been fed so much that I think it has to come together at some point. I think the score by gender roughly here is 5-5, and Tuku is still 4 strong. I think it's going to be Gabe. I can see Kyle winning immunity and then them just deciding to take Gabe out of the game. I realize that means that I'm picking myself to have another winner pick next week. We will see, but I feel like Gabe's time is coming.
Yeah, I felt that way since episode 1.
Well, I mean, when he dropped the box down the hill and everyone's like, what?
I still thoroughly believe that Gabe is going to walk through the cafeteria holding his game on a lunch tray and trip and fall and spill it all over the place.
Yeah.
That's coming.
He's starting to feel like a 6th or 7th place guy.
Let's get into who can't win the game, and by that I mean it's time for Ryan's patented rank down, which Derek and Josh have co-opted for their own sinister ends.
Yeah.
And renamed, but I started it.
Yeah, dubious purposes, yeah.
So I'll kick this off. So this is ranking from who is most likely to win, least likely to win in terms of like not necessarily edit per se, but like who would beat everyone else. Like the top of the list is who would beat everyone in the end game if we finish today, going all the way down to who can't beat anyone, even if it's a final 2. I don't feel very strongly about this because this is a very likable cast with not too much conflict going on, and the people that did have the conflict are gone. So this is pretty tight for me, but I'll start us off with Rachel at the top, Kyle number 2, Soul 3, Genevieve, Teeny, Gabe, Caroline, with my bottom 3 at this point being Sam, Sue, and Andy. So I don't think, if we have a final 3, I don't think Sue and Andy can win. Though after today, I think Sue would beat Andy in a final 2. But Sam, I think he's fallen fast and far, but he can beat Sue and Andy. So those are my bottom 3.
Ryan, your list and my list are very, very, very different. Very different.
And mine, by the way.
So I actually have Genevieve as the one who can win the game right now, followed by Rachel in second, Kyle in third, mostly because he's won all of his immunities and he's super duper likable. Teeny I have next, who is also super duper likable, but hasn't won the challenges. And also, for all Teeny's talk about strategy, not a lot has gone by way of her driving it or anything like that. So Teeny, and then I have Sam, Soul, Gabe, and then for my bottom 3, I have Sue, Caroline, and Andy. And the reason I have Caroline below Sue, because I know this was a point of a topic of discussion last week on the podcast. This week, yet again, we are now seeing Caroline getting completely done over by Genevieve. So first she had like the daughter relationship with Sue and is kind of riding on Gabe's coattails a little bit. And now she's playing second fiddle to Genevieve in another sub-alliance. We're just seeing how Caroline is playing other people's games with them. It's very much, I'm doing it for Monica. It's giving, I'm doing it for Monica. So at least Sue is playing her own game, and she still has like, I'm the older woman who had to overcome more. She found an idol. She did the bloody murder scene, so she's got that notch in her belt too. I don't feel great about this, but if I'm trying to differentiate those two, I think I'd rather be more of an individual, for which I think Sue is. So that's my answer.
Josh?
We have such different lists, all three of us.
To be fair, I do think it is really a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Truly, and that's why it's fun.
And to the listeners, submit your link downs, the listener link downs. You can do that on any social media, like replies to any of our tweets or DMs or anything like that. When the Spotify episode is posted, you can comment there to submit any of your link downs, and we'll compile them because I'm very interested to see what it looks like side by side. It's like all three of ours and then the listeners too, because there's going to be a lot of variance here. Mine, disclaimer, like this is very vibes based for me. So, Derek has had logical reasons for a couple of his. Mine's like, nope, this is just how it feels.
Just vibes.
I like the way that this feels. At the top, I have Teeny. She's number 1 on my list just because I think that she's the best social player in the game. Followed by Gabe. Giant asterisk that I don't think, like, this is very temporary. Okay. I don't think he'll make it to the end. But if he would make it to the end, I think that he would just have to play a really good game in order to get there. So, like, really big asterisk, and that's going to be something that ends up changing over time.
There'd be a lot of Tuku on that jury.
But for one episode, one glorious episode, he can be in spot number 2.
What was the name of episode 1?
It was one perfect and glorious episode.
One glorious and perfect episode.
There you go. Thank you, John. Number 3, I have Caroline. Vibes, I really like Caroline.
I do too.
She's really changed on me in the last few weeks. She's kind of like my Genevieve, like, for you.
Okay.
Where I could absolutely see Caroline winning this game. Right after that, number 4 is Genevieve for me. I was a Genevieve hater in the pre-merge, and I've come around on her just because, victim of edit, but that's what happens when your closest ally is Rome. He's going to hog the screen.
Yep.
And it's going to seem like you're doing all the wrong moves, which there were a couple of moves I didn't like of hers before, but all good now. That's all in the pre-merge. Does not matter.
Yep.
After that, Rachel, and all 3 of those people were really tight for me, so Rachel could be just as high. Followed by Sam, then Kyle, then Soul, who's rising, and then the bottom 2 being Sue and Andy. Andy is the bottom of the list for me, which is actually flipped from last week because I had Sue below Andy. This one is just like, well, Andy was nice for one episode. Yep. I just finally put him above Sue, and now he's back below her.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the survivor pool. Last thing we got to talk about was kind of a push for us last week. We all had Caroline. She made it through. Everyone who's been playing along with us has made it through once again. We're getting down in numbers.
We're getting real down there.
So I think we're going to start losing people very, very soon. Derek, start us off. Who are you picking in the survivor pool?
Yeah, by the way, well played game by everybody because everyone's still in, unbelievably. I believe I'm the only one of us 3 to have both people with idols left on my picks. I'm going to go ahead and burn one of those suckers right now, and I'm going to pick Rachel. I don't know how long she's going to be here, but for now she has an idol. I don't need any other reason.
Yeah, and that's completely fair, which is why I'm also picking Rachel.
Hey, guys.
Yep.
Want to push again?
Yep.
Because I'm also picking Rachel because she has an idol, and I've already picked Sue. Josh, did you pick Sue?
I've picked Sue.
Yep. So, yeah, all 3 of us are picking Rachel again because she has an idol. Can you blame us?
No, there's a reason why we're doing it.
I didn't know that you guys had picked Rachel. This is hilarious.
I was wondering. I didn't know if anyone had already picked Rachel. I assumed Josh was going to pick Rachel.
I assumed Ryan was going to pick her. Wasn't sure on Derek, but just because me and Ryan have the exact same people left.
So yeah, I'll be curious to see if any of our anyone who's been playing along with us, for those who have Rachel left or Sue left, are they going to do it? Are they going to do something else? And if anyone left has neither of them left, what are you going to do? Good luck.
There's a couple listeners who don't have either of them available.
Ooh. All right.
And one that has both.
Okay. Well, good for them.
Derek.
Okay. Yeah, this is getting down to the nitty gritty here, and I'm excited. But another push for us, so we'll make it another episode, at least the 3 of us. In our game.
In our game, because either we all lose or we all win.
Yep.
I don't know which I'd prefer.
Yeah, I don't know either. All right, that wraps it up here for tonight. Social media.
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Castaway Pod. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok is Castaway Consultants. Like I said, you can wherever is easiest for you, just toss in your listener langtowns and we'll compile them. We put a nice little average together and then we track it week to week to see how that changes over time until the end of the season.
And comment on Spotify. Your feelings, do your langtown. Make sure you let me know who you think is going to be the winner. Now, if you put Andy on one end, I probably know, but it's still helpful if you say most likely, least likely.
Yeah.
Try to have those to us by Monday, please.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so, but this was a fun episode of Survivor.
Yeah, I am glad we did this in the end.
Yes.
The beer helped. The beer absolutely helped. All right, on that note, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.